Welcome, my name's Gretchen, and we're so excited that you've chosen to join us for Church Online with South Hills. If you're brand new with us, have said yes to Jesus, or have a care need and wanted to speak with a pastor about anything, I invite you to pull out your phone and text the word CONNECT to 951-476-2550. One of our staff members would love to follow up with you this week. And before we get into the rest of the service, there's a few things that we're really excited about that are coming up here at South Hills. In September, we're launching a whole new round of growth groups. And growth groups are the best way to get connected, to make new friends, and to grow deeper in your faith. I hope that next week you will check out this list of groups, as we have groups for every age and stage. Some that will meet online and some that will meet on campus, outdoors, in person. We're so excited to get you connected and find the right group for you. Speaking of groups, we recently relaunched our student ministry, SHS. And every Wednesday night, these students are meeting virtually on Zoom. Our middle school students are meeting at 6:30 p.m. and our high school students are meeting at 7:30 p.m. To sign up and find out the Zoom link, you can check out the link in our Instagram profile or by clicking on the Groups tab under the Church Center app. That's all I have for you today. Thanks so much for tuning in and enjoy the message.
Let's just take the next few moments, set everything aside, set our focus on Him, worship Him, and see what He might do.
Worthy of every song we could ever sing, worthy of all the praise we could ever bring, worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you, oh, we live for you, Jesus. Jesus, the name above every other name. Jesus, the only one who could ever save. Worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you. Oh, we live for you. Holy, holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes in wonder and show me who you are, and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around me. Oh Lord, we sing Jesus. Jesus, the name above every other name. Jesus, the only one who could ever save. Worthy, worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you. Yes, we live for you. Lord, you are holy, holy. There is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes in wonder and show me who you are, and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around me. Oh, I will build my life upon your firm foundation, God. All that you have for me, it is not lost. No, it's not. Oh, Lord. Can we sing this together? Oh, I will build my life upon your love. It is a firm foundation, and I will put my trust in you alone, and I will not be shaken. I will build my life upon your love. It is a firm foundation, and I will put my trust in you alone, and I will not be shaken. Oh, one more time, holy. And holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes in wonder and show me who you are, and fill me with your heart, and lead me in your love to those around me.
Every family has a way of doing things. A way they handle the big stuff and the small stuff. A way of thinking, doing, gathering, serving, being. A way that, even from the outside walls they sometimes call home, tells you who they are and what they stand for. We are South Hills. We are family. This is us.
Well, I just want to say, first off, thank you again for tuning in to Church Online. My name is Adam, and I'm the campus pastor here at our South Hills Corona campus. And today we're going to continue on in this series that we started 7 weeks ago. It's just crazy to think about that we've been in this series for that long. We've got one more week left after this week, and it's called This Is Us. And the whole idea behind this series is really just talking about what we value as a church family, kind of our way of seeing the world, our way of doing things, the things that are most important to us as a faith community. And we've just been talking about these things one by one and going below the surface about, like, why do we care about this? And how do we live that thing out in a really practical way as individuals and as a community? And so today we're going to dive into our 8th value. And I want to just encourage you to take some notes today, whether that is just writing some things down on a scratch piece of paper or typing some things on your phone, maybe even taking a picture of some points that really resonate on the screen and posting those to your social media account to just share with other people what's hitting home with you today. But if you are taking notes, the title of my message today is Party Invites. Party Invites. Now, my wife, Gretchen, and I, we have 3 kids, and every once in a while, one of my kids will get something in the mail. And you got to know, this is what true giddiness looks like. Watching one of my kids realize that somebody mailed them something, because in their mind, mail is something that grown-ups get. And so to get something that is specifically addressed to them, they just lose their minds. And I love watching them slowly open it. Like, they're very meticulous and they read it. And I mean, honestly, it's kind of a weird thing. We all just kind of stand around and just stare at them and smile as they read it. And usually, like, they'll read it really intentionally, like quiet to themselves. And then they'll pass it around and, like, their siblings are like, oh man, let me read it. And then they want to read it and kind of get in on what's going on there. And it's especially exciting if it's an invite, right? If they receive an invite that was handwritten and dropped to them in the mail, there is no higher moment of excitement for them. They'll just be walking around like, I don't know if you guys just saw, but I got an invite to a party. Yeah, it was through the mail and everything. It was handwritten. It was addressed just to me. Yeah, it took almost 3 stamps. I mean, I don't want to brag, but I mean, it's kind of a big deal, and I know you guys are jealous. It's glorious. I mean, I love watching these moments that my kids have, and part of the reason is because kids don't have that thing yet where they know how to fully mask their excitement. It just all comes to the surface, and in our culture as adults, we have this preoccupation with trying to appear cool at all times, but kids, they don't even have that ability. They don't care. And I love it because when I see them really excited, I know that feeling. And I know the feeling because I really believe that everyone loves getting an invite to a party. And I know some of you are thinking like, not introverts, but I got to disagree, because despite what you may think you know about me from my presentation style, I am a huge introvert. And even I love getting an invite to a party. I mean, I don't always want to go, right? But that's not really the point, right? The point is that it feels so good to be included, right? It feels good to know that somebody wanted you there, that somebody wanted to be with you, that they wanted you to be part of their thing. Like someone sat down and they thought to themselves, like, of all of the people that exist in the world, who do I want to share this thing that I love with? And for some reason, your name came to mind. Now, on the flip side, I'd also say that there are a few things as painful as getting left out. Like knowing that everyone else is in on something great, but nobody bothered to include you. I think these moments, they mess with us, right? They leave us wondering like if there's something wrong with us. What did we do? Why did no one tell us? Like, why did we get left out? I'm sure like it probably wouldn't be that hard for you to locate a painful memory of being left out. Like these moments in our life have this way of kind of searing themselves into our memory banks. Sometimes it's about being left outside the circle, like being left out socially. And sometimes it's about being left out of the loop, like being left out informationally. I wonder if you've ever felt like you were the last one to find out about something crucial. Like somehow everyone knew about this thing before you. Somehow they all know about the one stylist that is still cutting hair during quarantine while you're having like a shaggy fest and everything's like sprigging out in weird directions. And no one told you. No one told you about the best new restaurant that everybody's enjoying and you didn't know. Nobody told you about the bingeable Netflix show that everyone else is obsessed with. No one told you about the brilliant tax guy or the new homeschooling tip that's saving every other mom's life. You were just the last to know, and you felt out of the loop. And I wonder if in these moments, whatever they look like for you, if you ever ask someone, you got bold enough to just say like, why didn't you include me? And they said something like, well, I mean, I don't know. I didn't feel like you'd like it or care about it. Like I don't know. It just didn't seem like your kind of thing. And maybe they were right. Or maybe in that moment, they couldn't be more wrong. Or maybe there's no way to even know because you haven't yet had the experience. And there was part of you that just wished that they would have let you make that decision for yourself. Now, I bring this up because there's this idea that those of us who are Jesus followers should be inviting and including other people to step into our community to experience and experiment with the way of Jesus. So first off, I mean, like, where does that even come from? Like, is it just because like, oh, we want to have this huge church? Not really. I mean, it really originates with something that Jesus said: go into all the world and preach the good news to everyone. Now, right away out of the gate, you might be thinking like, I don't know. Like that word preach makes me feel super uncomfortable. I don't like preachy people and like, I don't want to come off preachy. And if that's what you're thinking, like, I get it. And I'm with you. And I think a lot of that is because most of us tend to associate the word preach with anger, pressure, condemnation, condescension. But I think that has a lot more to do with our past experiences than it does with Jesus's primary intention. What Jesus is saying here is Jesus is encouraging us to be enthusiastic advocates, inviting others to experience what we've experienced alongside us, to simply come and see with me. I've seen something, I've experienced something, I've been a part of something, and I want you to get to experience what has been a big deal for me. And when it comes to like enthusiastic advocacy, like I think we all do this with a lot of things, but we don't often do it with the most important things. I mean, have you noticed that about your own life? Like, I think there's all sorts of reasons why we might do this. And I think maybe the biggest of which is that the stakes just seem a lot lower, to ask someone to, I don't know, taste a bacon burger than to try out a whole new worldview, right? One feels a little bit more higher stakes, but Jesus encourages us over and over again, often in really creative ways, to prioritize inviting other people to join us. In fact, there's this particular story that Jesus tells in some of the biographies about his life, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, about this extravagant party with this exclusive invite list. But, like a lot of parables or made up stories with a very profound point, there are all these layers of metaphor and meaning, and it ends up going in a different direction than maybe you think it's going to go. And I just want to read this to you and make a few observations together. It's found in Luke chapter 14, starting in verse 16. A man prepared a great feast and sent out many invitations. And when the banquet was ready, he sent his servants to tell the guests, "Come, the banquet is ready." Now, I love how simplistic that is, right? Come, the banquet is ready. I mean, it's almost like caveman simple. And that blows my mind because I don't know if I'm the only person that's like this, but I wonder if I'm not the only one who can get a little bit in my head about trying to make the perfect invite. I want to say it just right. I'm like, maybe I'll start with the joke. It's like, I want it to seem like it's a priority, but it's like, I don't want to be pushy. You know what I mean? I want to be casual, but I still want to come off like I care, but not too much. I don't want to seem like I care too much because that's not cool. You know what I mean? And what if they start asking questions? And what if it's like a deep question or a theological question or like a Bible question? I don't know the answer to the question. You know what? Hopefully somebody else will just extend the invite. It says in verse 18, but they all began making excuses. Now I know you're like, I knew it. That's why I don't do it. People make excuses, okay? You put yourself out there and then they say no, but they don't just straightforward say no. They make up some excuse that you can tell is fake, right? And then I feel embarrassed and rejected. No, I don't want to do that, right? And I get it, but let's just calm down. Let's just finish the story, okay? You got to hear these excuses these people give, right? In this story. One said, "I've just bought a field and I must inspect it." Now, this is ridiculous because nobody buys a giant piece of property without going to look at the piece of property and make sure that it's okay. And there's no internet to just look it up. You know what I mean? You'd have to go there and actually make sure that the soil is good to plant in, and you'd have to check it out before you spent a ton of money on it. It's clearly made up. It's clearly absurd. Verse 19, it says, another said, "I've just bought 5 pairs of oxen and I want to try them out. So please excuse me." This is also absurd. No one would buy animals without previewing them. And these aren't just animals, but this is farm equipment. 5 pairs of oxen is the equivalent of I just bought 5 combines. And I didn't even look at them. I didn't even look them up. I haven't seen them. I don't even know if they work. I just spent all this money without checking it out. It's absurd. It's clearly a made up excuse, just something off the top of somebody's head to get out of doing something that they don't quite want to do. In verse 20, it says, another said, "I just got married, so I can't come." Okay, I got to be honest this one seems legitimate. I mean, you are not going to go to a party with a bunch of people the day after you get married. I mean, you're going to be on lockdown, okay? You're going to be listening to some Marvin Gaye. I feel like this guy's got kind of a point, so he's off the hook, but 2 out of 3, totally fabricated. This is what happens in the story. Verse 21 says, the servant returned and told his master what they had said, and his master was furious. Why? Why is the master so mad? Because this party was a big deal, and it took a long time to plan. And the master or the king, like most of us, would have started by inviting the people that he knew the best, the people that he rubbed shoulders with the most. And instead of being excited that he prepared this amazing thing for them, they manufactured all these excuses to avoid what was most important to someone that should have been most important to them. It's the ultimate insult. It says the master said, "Go quickly to the streets and alleys of the town and invite the poor, the crippled, the blind, and the lame." After the servant had done this, he reported, "There's still room for more." And so his master said, "Go out into the country lanes and behind the hedges and urge anyone you can find to come so that the house will be full." Now, I don't know if you're picking up on this, but this whole story is a thinly veiled metaphor about the kind of king that God is and the types of people he wants at his table and the lengths that he'll go to show them that they're welcome. And while there's so much that we could peel apart inside of this story, I think the most important idea that's just sitting right on the surface is that God is an includer who invites everyone to his party, including you, including those who are like you and those who are completely unlike you, including those you like and those you dislike, including those that you think would fit in really well and those that you're kind of nervous might not fit at all. In fact, in the culture that this story is told in, the king tells his servants to go invite people that most people would have typically thought wouldn't belong at a banquet. And when we pull this idea into our modern context, it's almost as if God is saying to us in the here and now, if you're doing this thing right, your church ought to be full of people who don't seem like typical church people. But how are those sorts of people going to end up here? You're going to invite them. It's not just that God is inviting you to the party, but he's inviting you to invite others along with you. And it can be as simple as, come on, like the banquet is ready. So with that said, like, let me ask you this. When was the last time you invited someone to the party? Like, and just so that this doesn't get lost on you, just so it's not too metaphorical and too cryptic, like, here's what we're really asking. Like, when was the last time that you told someone about your faith and invited them to join you at church? And I know maybe some of you are thinking like, well, COVID, guys. So, I mean, like, I'm exempt, right? Like, we can't be inviting people during this season. But in all reality, there's still a lot of ways in which you can share your faith and invite people into your spiritual community. Like, you can share this message online. You can host a watch party. You can post quotes from the sermon. You can share your reading plan from the Bible. You can invite somebody to join you at the outdoor sunup or sunset services. In fact, this is what I think is so crazy, is that when you read church history, the church grew most during the times when it was most inconvenient to invite, times when people were on lockdown, times when the church was being persecuted, when buildings were closed, when the temple was off limits, when people were in seclusion where they had to meet or talk or share in secret. But because there were so many enthusiastic advocates who refused to be silent about what following the way of Jesus had done for them, so many more people found a seat at the table. And, here's the thing. People are going to have excuses. I mean, you're right. I know you're thinking that, and you're correct. But don't assume you know who's going to have an excuse or what the excuse is going to be. Like, our responsibility as Jesus followers is just to ask, right? To obediently do what God has asked us to do and to allow or even expect people to surprise you. Because the truth of the matter is, there are people in your life that are searching for God, but they've got no idea where to go or who to talk to. And maybe that's because it's supposed to be you. And you've remained silent about this part of you that has made all the difference for you, and it can for them too. Again, there's so much to this story that I love. There's this part of the story where the servants actually go out and invite people to come in, and some people do. But the servant goes back to the master, the king, and he just says, like, there's still more space. And the king says to him again, like, go and urge so that the house will be full. And I think the heart behind that is like, not just to invite one time, but to invite again and again and again. The idea here that really, I think, in a lot of ways reveals the heart of God is that God never settles for less than everyone, and neither will we. I had a mentor one time that said, imagine being a part of a church that decided that they were only going to get so big and no bigger, right? And the cutoff point for that particular church came, and they closed their doors. And nobody invited or included anybody new. And imagine that it was your best friend or your mother or your daughter or your neighbor or your husband that never got to come in and experience firsthand the rescuing, reorienting, redeeming grace of God. That idea is absolutely unacceptable. And I agree. And that's why our eighth value as a church is we don't wait for someone else to reach our friends, because we genuinely believe that God placed you in certain people's lives for a divine purpose. God put them on your path so that you could invite them to the party. So what are you waiting for? I think sometimes we sit back and we're like, man, God needs to do something in their life. Oh man, if they could just come into a relationship with Jesus, if they could just know that they were unconditionally loved, if they could just feel what it felt like to be a part of this community, if they could just experience the kind of friendships and the sense of family and belonging that I've come to find here, if someone would just invite them, would just compel them, would just like tell them that they need to come, would just pick them up, would just, again and again and again, never give up on them. Like if somebody would just reach out to them, they could feel what I feel. They could find what I've found. I love that the king in the story uses this word urge them to come in. I don't know what comes to mind when you think of the word urge. Like there's this air of passion and persistence to it. I think it's this idea of be an enthusiastic advocate and invite others to experience what you've experienced alongside you. But why would you do this? Because God wants to do what he did in you for them too. And one of my favorite verses that addresses this idea is something that the Apostle Paul, who wrote the majority of the New Testament, and this is what he says. It's in Romans chapter 10, verse 13. Everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. But how can they call on him unless they believe in him? And how can they believe in him if they've never heard about him? And how can they hear about him unless somebody tells them? And I mean, who do you think that God might want to use to tell your friends and family and neighbors about him? You. And I wonder what would happen if you took this seriously. Like if you stopped overthinking it, if you just decided that you were going to commit to saying like, hey, come, the banquet is ready. Like, what would our modern version of this be? Like, I don't think it needs to be as complicated or as stressful as we sometimes make it. I think that God gives us a simple formula for a reason to get those of us who spend way too much time overthinking social things inside of our head to just be straightforward. Like, hey, you and me, we're going to the sunset service. Let's go. I'll buy you coffee, okay? I'm coming over at 8:30 a.m. to pick you up. Like, don't make me personally dress you. It would be way better if you just got dressed yourself. We're going to the 9 a.m., right? Or we're going to watch the 9 a.m. at your house. We're going to stream it together. I'll wear a mask. It'll be fine. You're going, okay? You're going, right? you need to at least go outside one time in a week, okay? I'm not even gonna make you change out of your pajama pants. You just need to go out. There's an outdoor service. Let's go together. I tell you what, if you don't laugh one time during the sermon, I'll buy you lunch, okay? Anywhere you wanna go. Or maybe you just say something as simple as like, you like me and I like this, and so you should just come check it out. Like just for me, just this once. Like give it a chance. Just come and see, come and see. So as important as this whole thing is, let me take the pressure off. You don't have to convince, coerce, or convert anyone. That's God's job. Just invite them to the party. Because being invited and included has the ability to change the trajectory of your whole life. I mean, think about it. You're here, you're a part of this church because someone else invited and included you. And think about how much Christ and this community has come to mean to you. Like, I think for a lot of us, we don't know where we'd be in life. We don't know who our circle of friends would be. We have no idea how healthy we would be mentally, physically, spiritually. Some of us, if we're honest, we don't even know if we would be alive today if it weren't for what we found here. And all of it came because of an invite. And if you're like me, you're so unspeakably grateful that at some point in time, someone went out on a limb, not assuming they knew what my answer was going to be. And they invited and included me. They urged me. They were passionate and persistent. And that's why I'm here. And now it's our turn to pay it forward, to invite, to urge, because people want to be where they're wanted, but they won't know they're wanted if they're never invited. The people in your life need to know that God wants them, that we want them, that our church is for them, that they're a part of the family. But how will they know unless you tell them? I wonder what it would look like if we all took this seriously. If we all genuinely decided that we were going to live out this thing that Jesus challenged us to do in Mark chapter 16, verse 15, if we decided that we were going to go into all the world and preach the good news to everyone, to those people who live alongside us, who work alongside us, to those people that we spend our days with, that we work out with, that we eat meals with, that we enthusiastically advocate all sorts of things to, from like where we like to buy jeans to like a place that has the best breakfast burritos. What if we decided that we were going to bring them in on the thing that has meant the most to us, our relationship with our Maker, the community that keeps us on track? I think it has the potential to change the world, one life at a time, one invite at a time, just like it did for you. And that's what I want to pray into your life today, that God would inspire you to that end. Maybe it's handwritten, like the cards that my kids get in the mail. Maybe it's a text. Maybe it's forwarding a Facebook link. Maybe it's driving to someone's house and knocking on the door and having a conversation. I want to pray that God would give you the desire and the courage to extend invites that change lives. Would you just bow your heads with me wherever you find yourself today, and let's pray. God, thank you so much for your grace and your love and your mercy. Thank you so much for including us, for inviting us into your family. God, we are eternally grateful. Without this awareness of the kind of connection that you want to have with us, so many of our lives would be empty. God, we wouldn't have the friends, we wouldn't have the freedom that we have today. And it's all because somebody was bold enough to say, come, the banquet is ready. There is a party that you have been invited into. And I don't know if anybody's told you, But I want to invite you to come and see, because I think that the God who did something for me could do something for you. And God, I pray that we would be bold, and God, that we would be those who pay it forward to those around us like somebody did for us. And God, that you would reach down and rearrange and reorient and redeem the lives of the people in our friend groups, in our families, in our neighborhoods, in our workplaces, because we're not going to wait for someone else to reach our friends. We're going to get personally involved, and we're going to extend an invite to the party. God, thank you for the way in which you embrace us and in which you change us when we place you at the center of our existence. In Jesus' name, amen. Now, there's just one more thing I want to invite you to do with us this morning. But before I get to that, I do just want to say, if you prayed this prayer with us for the first time this morning, maybe this is the first time that you agreed to kind of bow your head and acknowledge that there's something bigger than you that wants to have a relationship with you. And if that's the case with you, like, we want to know about it, because we want to help you take some next steps in your journey with Jesus. And you can do this by just texting the word connect to the number right on the bottom of your screen right now. And a connect card will be sent back to you electronically. And you can fill that out with just some base information and check the box that said, I said yes. And one of our team will reach out to you. We want to give you a brand new Bible, a reading plan, and we want to help you take some next steps in your faith journey, because the thing that you are meant to do in life, this relationship that you're meant to have with God, is not something that you've got to figure out all by yourself. That's why we exist. And we want to give you some clues about how you can be a part of the party that God is throwing. The last thing I want to invite you to do with us today is to give with us. And your consistent giving during this time of quarantine is the only reason that we're able to still have an impact on our community. And sadly, we've become aware of lots of stories of churches that have unfortunately folded and closed their doors during this time, not just not letting people meet physically, but unfortunately have had to completely permanently close their doors because people have stopped giving. And that's not been the case with us. We know that everybody's in a different financial season right now, but your faithfulness financially is everything. And I want to thank you for that. Not only has it enabled us to continue to have these online services, but it has enabled us to really reach out and do consistent ministry in our community. And I just want to highlight one thing that you've helped us do. This past week, we were able to, we heard about this need that this single mom had. She was moving into a new place and she needed some new furniture and she needed some help moving in and getting settled. And we were able to rally a team of guys to go over and help her get settled, to give her a gift basket, to even donate some things just to make settling in a new home a little bit easier. And one of the cool things about that story was just that interaction with us as a church, our willingness to leverage our resources to help specific people with the practical needs that they have in life, in turn helped inspire her to look into what was going on in our church that very weekend. And one of her kids, her son, got baptized in our outdoor baptisms last Sunday afternoon. Again, like, your giving enables us to reach out and help people practically, which then encourages them to take their next steps spiritually. And it's been really exciting to see people taking next steps, even in quarantine, and your giving has done that. And so I just want to say thank you. So however you're giving today, whether it's part of your regular habit, or maybe it's something you're kickstarting just this morning, you can give in multiple different ways. You can give through our website, southhills.org/give. You can give through our Church Center app. And if you do, make sure you select the Corona campus. You can give through our text to give function, or you can give by mailing your giving in, or even showing up to one of our in-person outdoor services. There's still one more left today. That is if you're watching this on a Sunday morning at 9 or 11. We have outdoor services, one at 9 a.m. and we have a sunset service at 7 p.m. And sorry to all of you 9 a.m. attendees, but probably the 7 p.m. is my all-time favorite. I love the sunset vibe. We got the twinkle lights out. We're gonna have a coffee truck that's gonna be out there. It's so much fun, extended worship, and there's just something when the evening's cooling down, everybody's on lawn chairs. It's incredible. And you can bring your giving right to that if you want to come to that evening service. And you're always welcome to watch online and attend in person. You can even double dip. No one's going to judge. No one may even know. We love you guys. We're thinking about you, praying for you. If there's anything you need, make sure you DM us, email us, let us know. God bless. Have an incredible rest of your week.
Thanks so much for tuning into this week's message. We hope you enjoyed it and laughed a little and learned some along the way. You can share today's message with friends and family online on Facebook, YouTube, or Vimeo. And be sure to text the word CONNECT to 951-476-2550. Also, follow us on social media so you can stay up to date on all things South Hills throughout the week. And be sure to check the events tab under the Church Center app so you can RSVP for all the events, including tonight's in-person services on the lawn at 7 p.m. We love you all, and we'll see you next week.